Part 25. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 241. Zhu Ji had this thing in his hand before, and he would give it to her yesterday. Something must have happened after she left. But that's a good thing. I'll ask Master Mingzhu. If it can be cured, I will collect medicine for you to cure your amnesia. Suwan couldn't help but look at Chi Min again, who knew nothing about the past. However, after learning that she was her daughter, although she didn't know how to get along with her, she tried her best to be nice to her and wanted to fulfill her responsibilities as a mother. Loving children is a mother's nature. Suwan looked at the gentle and kind smile on Chi Min's face and couldn't help but reach out and hug her. I hope you can find your past self as soon as possible. Chi Min froze, surprised by Suwan's initiative, and hugged her back. Zhao, I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Suwan let go of Chi Min, sincerely hoping that she would remember everything and rebuild the old relationship with Ji Xian. When I first met my father, he was seriously ill and lost the will to live. It was because by chance, I found out that I was his daughter, and my desire to live was aroused. I heard that you were seriously ill in Ziliang, so I came all the way just to see you, even if I knew that you were married and had 2 children. It doesn't matter to him if you're a child, as long as you live. Later I found out that you were seriously ill, and I wanted to treat you. When I proposed to remove the mother-in-law poison first, he refused, and became determined to go to hell with you. You are more important than anything else in his life. Time has not diluted his feelings for you. If you remember everything and don't change your feelings for him, if you want to stay in Ziliang Kingdom, Huizi and I will carry everything for you in Dazhu. If you want to return to Dazhu, we will fight for you. Chi Min suddenly felt sour in her heart and was deeply moved. Silly boy, we are your parents and your backers, how can we let you bear the consequences of our choices? Suwan smiled. Just do what you want to do. We will take care of the aftermath for you. Don't have this kind of thought today again. Chi Min touched Suwan's head and said, be obedient. Suwan felt uncomfortable in her heart and nodded. Chi Min looked at such a grown-up child. There were many things she wanted to say, but they were all stuck in her throat. She couldn't say anything and became arrogant. I heard from the regent that he wanted you to return to Zhou dynasty earlier. What do you think? Chi Min wanted to keep Suwan for a few more days, even until she regained her memory. Suwan thought for a moment and glanced at the prescription in her hand. After Master Mingzhu confirms it, this prescription can cure your amnesia. I will cure your amnesia and then return to Dazhu. Okay, Chi Min said with a smile in her eyes. Will you come back after the new year? Suwan accepted this date. Okay. The mother and daughter chatted for a while longer and then dispersed. Suwan came to Chi Shiliu and asked, did you notice anything strange when you sent Jug to the city gate? No, Chi Shiliu said immediately. I arranged for someone to secretly escort the brothers and sisters to Jade City. Suwan frowned and couldn't figure it out, so she stopped thinking about it. If there was anything strange, the person who protected Zhu Ji would definitely pass on the news. She asked Chi Shiliu to escort her to Beima Temple to find Master Mingzhu in person. The carriage stopped at the foot of the mountain. Suwan climbed up the mountain and went straight to the main hall. He saw Master Mingzhu and a noble lady thanking him. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 242. The noble lady was wearing a red mink fur cloak and pearls on her head. She had a beautiful and soft face. She looked very young, about 30 years old, and she looked dignified and luxurious. Suwan stood aside waiting, but Master Mingzhu saw Suwan and said something to the lady. The lady turned around and nodded slightly when she saw Suwan. Suwan walked over. The noble lady said to Master Mingzhu, thank you for your help and saving my son's life. We will come together to fulfill your wish when the prince comes back. My Buddha is merciful. Master Mingja said a Buddhist salute. Young master is not in danger of his life for the time being, so he can follow the prescription for a few days, and you can also ask almsgiver Su to diagnose and treat him. The noble lady smiled and said, no need. There has been improvement for the time being. I will treat him according to your plan for a while first. Apparently because he was too young and didn't trust Suwan, he left with his servants. Suwan watched her leave, as if she was a rich or noble person. Suwan had never seen her during the palace banquet, so she must have come from a wealthy family. Master Mingju mentioned something. This lady's surname is Lu. She was originally a merchant from Ziliang and had business dealings with Dezhou. Her husband was from Dezhou and was brave and good at fighting. After coming to 11 Liang, he gave up business and joined the army. Rong is the only prince with a different surname in Ziliang. Suwan heard appreciation from his words. Most of the officials in Ziliang were women, and there were also men, but the proportion was relatively small. What's more, it is even more difficult for a man to be named a prince with a different surname, unless he is extremely outstanding. But what surprised her even more was that Master Mingju would mention such a thing to her. Master Mingju's eyebrows were compassionate and he said, King Changxin protects the peace of Ziliang, but his wife is weak and the child he gave birth to was born with deficiencies. He was nursed back to health with decoction for 5 or 6 years. Not long ago, he became seriously ill, but now he has turned from danger and has damaged his roots. With you I just want to ask you to accompany me to the Changxin Palace when you have time. Suwan shook her head. The lady doesn't believe that I can cure her son, so I just leave it to chance. Master Mingju did not force it, he just said, King Changxin will return to the court soon. He is a very wise man. I will recommend you to him. Suwan smiled, and without refusing, took out a prescription from her sleeve. Look, can this prescription cure my mother? Master Mingju took one look and nodded slightly. Give her 3 doses of medicine and she will be cured. Thank you. Master Suwan accepted the prescription and took Qi Shiliu down the mountain back to the capital. Qi Shiliu scratched his head. Miss, I heard from Boss Qi that this king of Changxin came out of nowhere and became famous in one battle. This Ziliang was very complicated before. There were many vassal kings, each occupying their own territory and becoming king. Later, there were the people of different surnames joined forces to seize the country. Later, King Changxin proposed himself and issued a military order to regain the separated territory of Ziliang. The queen agreed. It only took him half a year to cut down the vassal and regain all the power. That's why he was awarded the title of different surname. Your Majesty. Suwan felt that King Changxin was very powerful. He was from Dazhu. So before coming to Ziliang, was he also a general in Dazhu? After going down the mountain and getting on the carriage, the sky suddenly became gloomy and it began to rain heavily. The carriage galloped towards the capital. Suddenly, the carriage stopped suddenly. Miss, the wheel is broken. Qi Shiliu's voice came from the sound of rain. Suwan opened the curtain, and the rainwater soaked the carriage. She came down with an umbrella and took a look at the wheel. It was really broken. There was no village in front, no store in the back, and no place to hide from the rain. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 243. We can only wait and try our luck. Suwan's oil paper umbrella was almost destroyed by the heavy downpour, and her clothes were soaked. She frowned in discomfort. You also get into the carriage to hide from the rain. I hope a carriage will pass by and give us a lift. Qi Shiliu grimaced. It's all my fault that I didn't check the carriage when I came out, otherwise I would have discovered the problem. Suwan smiled and said, You couldn't find any problems during your inspection at that time. Chi Shiliu was depressed and urged, Miss, the weather is cold, your clothes are wet, and you will catch cold easily. You should go to the carriage to take shelter from the rain. I will wait outside. Together Suwon said without comment. Chi Shiliu thought about the two people in the narrow carriage, feeling very awkward. He looked around, trying to find an excuse to escape, and suddenly he noticed a carriage approaching at a high speed. Here it comes. The carriage is coming. Chi Shiliu stood beside the official road excitedly and waved to the approaching carriage. The carriage passed them, splashing mud and water all over them. Crack! Chi Shiliu almost stopped to greet the other party's ancestor. The carriage reversed back and stopped beside them. The driver was wearing a raincoat. Are you two going back to the capital? Chi Shiliu's anger dissipated instantly, and he forced a smile on his face. Yes, we are returning to the capital. I wonder if you can give us a ride? Our carriage is broken down. You guys come up. The coachman relaxed. Thank you. Suwon knew that their master was relieved, turned back to his carriage, took down the important things, and got into their carriage. Chi Shiliu drove the car with the driver, not daring to slack off at all, because he could feel from his breath that the other person was a Lian Jieze. And this feeling seems to be stronger for the person in the carriage. He looked back at the car uneasily, but a wooden door blocked his view. Suwon was in a different state of mind, squatting on the edge of the carriage and staring at the man with a big horse and golden sword sitting in the carriage. He was about 40 years old, with disheveled hair tied into a ponytail, and a dark face covered with beards, especially the scar on the bridge of his nose, which looked very difficult to mess with. He was very strong and oppressive. She smelled a bloody aura similar to Chi Guang's. This man looked like a military general. Sure enough, Suwon found that his arm was injured and was casually bandaged with a piece of white cloth. The blood dyed the white cloth red. Her gaze was probably too direct. The man opened his eyes and looked over. He glanced at Suwon's face and felt vaguely familiar. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that he looked like the queen. Who are you? What is your connection to the royal family? The man's voice was as rough as sand. Suwon pursed her lips. She didn't dare to speak rashly without seeing through the identity of the person in front of her. When I thought about it at this time, I felt that it would be too hasty to get into the carriage rashly. If I have any evil intentions, it is already too late for you to be vigilant. The man touched her from his arms and threw a token towards her. Suwon laughed dryly. The pirate ship had already boarded. It was indeed too late. Pretending to be calm, he picked up the token and saw the words painted on iron and with silver hooks, King Changxing. Suwon's eyebrows skipped a beat. It was really fate. I met his wife at White Horse Temple before, and I met him when I went down the mountain. I'm a doctor. Suwon pointed to the wooden box she brought. As a reward, can I bandage your wounds? It's up to you. King Changxing stretched out his arms. Suwon returned the token and realized that his eyes looked a bit like Gu Huizi's. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 244. With this thought, Suwon couldn't help but take a look at it. They really looked alike. When he looked at him before, he had his eyes closed, but Suwon didn't notice. Because of this discovery, Suwon was not afraid of King Changxing. He carried the medicine box over and cut off the white cloth with scissors, revealing a hideous wound, as if it had been cut directly with a long knife, and the bone was clearly visible. From the shoulders to almost the elbows, when I got closer, I realized that the dark black clothes had become very hard after being soaked in blood and dried. I'll cut off this entire sleeve for you first. Can you change into another piece of clothing later? King Changxing said a faint hum and closed his eyes. When Suwon cut off her sleeves and tore off the white cloth, she tore the scabbed wound open again, and blood flowed down. The usual dressing methods for such a deep wound will heal very slowly and it will be difficult to stop the bleeding. Suwon thought for a while, took out the needle she asked the blacksmith to make, and took out the mulberry thread. She smelled the aroma of spirits in the carriage, took out the knife from the wall cabinet, took out a bowl, and used it first. Rinse the bowl with wine, and then soak the needles and mulberry threads in the wine. She began to clean the wound, applied snakebite ointment externally to reduce inflammation, and sutured King Changxing. The needle pierced the skin, and King Changxing suddenly opened his eyes, with veins pulsing on his forehead. Be patient, suturing the wound will help your wound recovery. Suwon suppressed his pulsing muscles and told King Changxing to relax, it will be fine soon. If you can't bear the pain, you can have some wine. There is no anesthetic here, so Suwon can only do this. No need. King Changxing lowered his eyes and looked at a thin mulberry thread, sewing his opened flesh together like clothes. He heard this kind of suture technique mentioned by the military doctor in the military camp, but he never thought that one day he could use it. Eye-opener, your medical skills are very good. Suwon paused and said attentively, it's not bad. King Changxing stopped talking, but he had an idea in his mind. If the injury healed quickly, he would ask Suwon to treat his son. Suwon moved very quickly, and the sewing was completed in a short time. King Changxing had lost consciousness from the pain. He could hardly feel the pain from behind, and the entire arm did not feel like it belonged to him. The carriage entered the capital, and Suwon asked them to stop at the horse market, thanked them and left. King Changxing opened the curtains and looked at the backs of the master and servant. Qin Luo, have you found out their identities? Qin Luo said respectfully, Master, they look like people from the Zhou dynasty. Zhou, King Changxing frowned, intuiting that Suwon was closely related to the 11 Liang royal family. The queen lived in Dazhu for more than 10 years. The carriage stopped in front of the Changxing prince's mansion, and the rain had stopped. Qin Luo knocked on the door. When the servant saw King Changxing, he was surprised and said, Your Majesty, you are back. He quickly said, I will inform the princess now. King Changxing frowned and watched the servant running while shouting loudly, Princess, the prince is back. The prince is back. As soon as King Changxing reached the main room, he saw a woman running towards him. When she came to him, she almost slipped on the slippery floor. He took the woman's arm, held her steady and released her. My lord, you're back. You're back. Ms. Liu's apricot eyes were filled with water mist. She looked at Prince Changxing with surprise and joy. When she saw the wound, her face turned pale instantly. Why are you injured? King Changxing frowned, it doesn't matter. Ms. Liu nodded, I'll hand over the sign and ask the imperial doctor to bandage your wound. No need. King Changxing strode to the front yard, I will change my clothes and go into the palace to recover. Okay, I'll prepare dinner. Zhener will be very happy to know that you are back. Ms. Liu followed King Changxing and talked about Yunzhen's condition. The condition suddenly worsened a month ago, and it was almost impossible to save her. Good thanks to Master Mingji's superb medical skills, Zhener was able to turn her life around. King Changxing paused and suddenly thought of Suwon. He wanted to find out her details first and then ask her to treat Yunzhen. The author has something to say. Babies, today's update is complete. See you tomorrow. Good night. Okay. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 245. When Suwon returned to the palace, her clothes were all soaked and she was shivering with cold. Take a hot bath and drink a bowl of ginger soup to relieve the cold. Sit down. Gu Huizi asked Suwon to sit in front of the bronze mirror, took a large kerchief, and wrung her long hair out. If you are going to White Horse Temple today, why don't you ask me to come with you? Suwon looked at his face in the bronze mirror, with gentle eyebrows and slightly pursed lips, feeling dissatisfied with her leaving the palace without authorization. She curved her lips and smiled, and traced his eyebrows with her fingers on the bronze mirror. You were busy, there was nothing important going on, so I didn't call you. Gu Huizi frowned and heard her say softly, I'm vigilant. The medicine in my hand can kill several cows, let alone 2 people. We were very lucky to meet King Changxing. He suffered, he was injured, and I treated him as compensation for the carriage fee. King Changxing, Gu Huizi paused and fell into deep thought. When Qi Min was first investigated, several important officials in Ziliang did a little research. King Changxing is one example. He came from the Zhou dynasty, and his wife and children died. He was rescued by the Lu family, a merchant from the Western Liang dynasty, and brought back to the Western Liang dynasty. Mrs. Lu was a widow who lost her husband a year after getting married. She was single until she met King Changxing. Liu's father looked down on King Changxing very much and was on guard against him coveting the Lu family's property. He assigned him a shop to be the shopkeeper, but King Changxing refused. He joined the army and was crowned king only 2 or 3 years later. Now Liu's mother is from Dazhu. It is for this reason that the Lu family has business dealings with Dazhu. After King Changxing became the king, the Lu family, young and old, all lived in the palace. 1. As soon as Suwan heard this tone, she suddenly turned around and hugged his waist, and said softly, You have more trust in me. I'm not as fragile as you think. MRSG is not weak either. I don't want you to get hurt, nor do I want to separate our husband and wife for more than 10 years because of an accident. Gu Huizi is full of awe of the world. Ji Xian is not weak, and MRSG is not weak, but in the end the 2 people are still separated, and their flesh and blood cannot be separated. Recognize each other. Everyone said that his father was good at boxing and kicking, and was extremely powerful. He could knock down a wild boar with 1 punch, but even such a man died from the mouth of the beast, leaving no trace of his body. Your identity is surrounded by dangers. It's better to be cautious, Gu Huizi warned. I know. Suwan knelt down and sat up, kissed the corner of his mouth, and said with a smile like a flower, there will be no next time. Gu Huizi's face was serious. He turned her around and pressed her down on the stool. Don't mess around. Suwan pursed her lips and snickered. It felt good to be taken care of, and she could feel that she was cared about. Gu Huizi took a peachwood comb, combed her long hair, then gently dried it with a handkerchief, picked her up by the waist, placed her on a soft couch covered with fur, and pulled the quilt to cover her. The maid brought dinner. Gu Huizi scooped out a bowl of hot chicken soup for her to eat, and then gave her a bowl of rice. After the 2 of them finished eating together, Suwan gave him the prescription. You ask someone to collect all these herbs. She yawned, hugged the quilt and leaned on the soft couch, and said drowsily, I'll lie down first. Meeting. Gu Huizi raised his eyes and saw that it was very warm in the palace. She was only wearing a white middle coat and was lying lazily on the soft couch. The quilt was casually placed around her waist. Her red lips were pretty and her long black hair was scattered softly. When it fell down, the clothes on the chest were loose, revealing a trace of snow-white skin, and a strand of hair was submerged in it, leading to endless reverie. Without realizing it, she slipped 1 foot out from under the quilt and put it on his thigh. He covered her chest with the quilt and walked out of the inner hall. Moun said, King Changxing returned to the capital early and was attacked on the way. Gu Huizi nodded. He heard what Suwan said. It seems that there is someone in the Western Liang Kingdom who cannot tolerate King Changxing. Moun guessed, could it be a remnant of the vassal king? It's all possible. Gu Huizi didn't care. Ziliang and Dazhu are related by marriage. As long as the courtiers of Ziliang have no rebellious intentions, they should be ignored. Moun, yes. You prepare this medicine. Gu Huizi handed him the prescription. Moun took the prescription and left. In the past few days, Suwon personally prepared medicine for Chi Min. When nothing happened, Suwon stayed by Chi Min's side and kept observing her. But she showed no sign of remembering. Today is the fourth and last day. Suwon watched Chi Min drink the medicine, take the bowl and put it down, staring at Chi Min nervously, wanting to ask her how she felt. Ji Xian has not appeared since she drank the medicine, and will only appear next to her after she goes to sleep. Chi Min could naturally find out, but just pretended not to know. Closing her eyes, Chi Min rubbed her forehead. I had a dream last night. What did you dream about? I dreamed of some scenes. Chi Min opened his eyes and looked at the tent roof, his thoughts gradually peeling off, about the things in Yunzong City, and Ji Xian. I'm not sure if it really happened, or if it's just too urgent these days. Wanting to know the past and overthinking dreams. Suwon frowned. Could it be that this prescription doesn't work? Relax your mind and let nature take its course. You don't have to force yourself to remember it. This prescription doesn't work. I'll think of another way. Suwon thought about it and prepared to go to the queen. The Supreme Empress has been silent, probably just waiting for her to find him so that he can negotiate with her. Suwon didn't want to be passive, so she needed to do something before going to see the Supreme Queen. Chi Min nodded. Get some sleep. Suwon saw that the look in her eyes had dimmed and she was drowsy, so she stepped on the light and left. With a bang, the door closed. Chi Min couldn't resist the sleepiness and fell into sleep. The imperial study room was extremely quiet in the morning. Sunlight streamed in through the window lattice and spread on the neatly arranged desks. Inside, the princes, princesses and their companions sat, and the only sound was the Taifa reading loudly. The oldest among them is in his early 10 years, and the youngest is 7 or 8 years old. Chi Min went to Beijing with her father, and he went to see the emperor. She was in the imperial garden with the maid, and came to the imperial study out of boredom. She was only 8 years old at the time. She was lying on the window, curiously looking inside, and happened to see a young man sitting by the window. He has sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes. He looks like he is in his early 10 years. He is wearing a jet black brocade robe, which makes his cold face more solemn. Unlike other people who listen carefully, he is whittling wood with a dagger, and there is someone beside him. The prototype he made. Chi Min recognized it as a divine arm crossbow. She was surprised that the beautiful little brother who grew up in the palace was interested in weapons. I have a divine arm crossbow. I can give you one. It's very lethal. Chi Min saw that her little brother was keeping his eyes open and ignored her words. She took off her sleeve arrow, stuffed it under the window and put it away. On his desk, this is for you first. The young man grabbed the arrow from his sleeve and stuffed it into her arms. He never looked at her, but Chi Min felt his disgust. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Bao. Chapter 246. As Chi Min grows up, there is nothing he cannot give away. The boy's rejection aroused her to despair. She threw the sleeve arrow back again. The young man suddenly looked sideways, with a pair of red and phoenix eyes like the moon under the cold river. Chi Min's eyebrows curved and she smiled brightly. Little brother, you are so good looking. This is a meeting gift for you. If we have a chance to meet again in the future, I will give you the divine arm crossbow. I made it myself. Impatience appeared on the young man's eyebrows. He picked up the arrow from his sleeve and threw it out. Chi Min had the foresight and quickly pulled down the window. The sleeve arrow hit the window and fell on the table, triggering the mechanism and shooting out a cold arrow. Ji Xian, the Taifu tremblingly touched the crown of his hair that was pierced by the cold arrow, and said angrily, You stand out. Chi Min was stunned and ran away subconsciously. After running far away in one breath, she looked back unexpectedly, their eyes met, and she read from his cold and stern eyes, "You are dead. Why is it so hard to make friends?" Chi Min's own father didn't even wait, he left the palace and went back to his house. After my father returned home, he heard that she had gone to the imperial study room today and asked her, "I originally planned to keep you in the capital. I have already discussed it with the emperor and you will study in the imperial study room." Chi Min thought of the old-fashioned and grumpy Teifu and Ji Xian who wanted to silence her. Her neck felt cold and she quickly refused, "Dad, I won't stay in the capital and will go back to the border with you." Before General Qi could say anything, she added, "If you are not with me, they can't control me." General Qi had no choice but to take Chi Min back to the border. A few years later, when they met in Yunzong City, Chi Min recognized Ji Xian at a glance. He was wearing a black straight train, and his figure was as tall and straight as a pine tree standing among black mountains and white waters. He contained the temperament of solid stone, cold spring, frost, and snow, and dark eyes. Looking at it, she held her breath and felt guilty for a moment. But for a moment, Ji Xian turned his eyes away and did not recognize her. Chi Min breathed a sigh of relief, but was no longer afraid of him. She has a mission to catch Prince Tana, who is a drunkard and a womanizer. Chi Min plays the warren in a brothel. On this day, she is auctioned. The moment she meets Ji Xian, she changes her mind. Wearing a red dress and dancing, Chi Min drew a charming light and shadow in the air. Her agile and slender figure was naturally charming. She had a cinnabar mole at the end of her eye. She was full of charm and desire and looked straight at the person sitting below. Ji Xian is full of charm. Suddenly, like a light butterfly, she landed gracefully between Ji Xian's legs. One hand hooked around his neck, and the other held up a glass of wine. She printed her red lips on the white glazed teacup and handed it to him. In front of "Master, have a glass of wine, and I will be yours tonight." She put her red lips to his ear, said a secret code, and exhaled softly, "Nothing will be taken." Ji Xian's black eyes were locked on hers, and he drank a glass of wine against her lips. Chi Min's heart beat a little faster when he saw him, and she felt it was particularly tempting. He pinched her waist with his big palms, and felt that his palms were so hot that his soul trembled. Before she could think about it, the world was spinning, and this dog man was carrying her on his back. "Go upstairs on your shoulders." As soon as the door was closed, Ji Xian threw her on the bed without any mercy. Chi Min pretended to be cool, sat firmly on the bed, and raised her eyebrows. "How does it taste?" She licked her lips. "The lipstick made of peach blossoms is applied, I like it very much." Vulgar Ji Xian glanced at her chest as he looked at the goods, and his cold voice was full of ridicule. "You have some self-knowledge. This little capital is indeed worthless." The smile on Chi Min's face froze. Before she could say anything, Prince Tana barged in. Ji Xian not only took advantage of her, but also took the credit. The one who flirts first is cheap. Chi Min can't blame Ji Xian. She picked a few soldiers to spar with each other to vent her pent-up anger. In the middle of the night, everyone fell asleep and went swimming in her territory. All the excess energy was vented. Chi Min swam back from the dive and caught something strange with one hand. The next moment, a hand pinched the back of his neck and pulled it out. Big eyes and small eyes. The single shirt on Chi Min's body clung to her body, her curves were slim, and the outline of her chest was clear. She calmed down and raised her lips. "Is this small amount of money worth your staring at it?" "Wow." Ji Xian let go. Chi Min threw himself back into the water. Her feet cramped and she flopped in the water. Ji Xian watched her struggle coldly, went ashore, put on her clothes and left. Chi Min climbed ashore and was so angry that he wanted to hit the man. Liang Zi formed a knot, and the two people hated each other ever since. The sad thing is that the two of them were in the same military camp and met often. Chi Min either flirted with or criticized Ji Xian, but Ji Xian didn't let her go in a gentleman's manner just because she was a woman. Until she was kidnapped, Ji Xian rescued her, and the two proud people revealed their feelings. Chi Min had a long dream. In the dream, she reread the past 10 years of her life. The moment she opened her eyes, she was still in a daze. Ji Xian came in and was slightly shocked when he saw tears streaming from the corners of Chi Min's eyes. When Chi Min heard the noise, she turned around and saw the man standing against the light. The water in her eyes flashed and her red lips parted slightly. Ji Xian, I'm back. These words set off a storm in Ji Xian's heart, and he looked at her in shock. Chi Min slowly sat up and fell into a hug. His hands hugged her so tightly that her bones ached. He didn't think it was ordinary enough and wished he could crush her into pieces and embed her into his bones and blood. Inside, she stretched out her arms to hug Ji Xian and said with a sore nose, Sujihong and I were fake marriages. We were only superficially married for a year. Because of the childbirth, the plan was delayed. I'm afraid that you will do whatever you want and refuse to admit that Zhao is your flesh and blood, and got engaged to Ji Wuifeng. At that time, I wanted to take Zhao to Ziliang, and then break off the engagement between Zhao and Ji Wuifeng. My feelings are still the same, so I will tell you the truth. It's just that she miscalculated. When the Queen Mother knew about her situation, she took action and forcefully brought her to Ziliang and erased her memory. Even the child stayed in the Su family. It was a mistake on my part that separated your father and daughter for more than 10 years, and Zhao suffered a lot of injustice and suffering. Chi Min blamed herself and regretted it very much. Don't blame yourself. If I could calm down, think of a perfect solution, and have no rebellious thoughts, you wouldn't be so guarded against me. Ji Xian's voice was hoarse, and he whispered, you are alive, and there is no one else, it's enough for me as it was then. A drop of liquid fell into her neck, burning Chi Mi, and her heart was tightly grasped by a hand, and she wanted to see him, but Ji Xian kissed her lips. On the other side, Su Wang calculated that it was almost time and planned to visit Chi Min. Just as he walked out of Yaoguang Hall, he was stopped by the palace maid. Miss Su, King Chang Xing asks you to treat the young prince's illness. The author has something to say. Babies, today's update is complete, see you tomorrow, okay. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 247. King Chang Xing sat in the front hall, accompanied by Mrs. Lu, who brought him a cup of hot tea. Your Majesty, Zhen'er's illness has always been under the treatment of the master. Now it has improved. Why do you need to change his doctor? Mrs. Lu looked at the majestic and heroic man in front of her. She couldn't hide her love and wanted to talk to him. A few words. Over the years, all the doctors and imperial doctors in Ziliang have treated Zhen'er, but there has been no improvement. King Chang Xing said nothing. Mrs. Lu said softly, my lord, have you found a new doctor? Go and see Zhen'er. King Chang Xing sent Lu. The smile at the corner of Liu's mouth disappeared, and she pursed her red lips and looked at Prince Chang Xing resentfully. Does the prince think that I am noisy? Or are you blaming me and refusing to forgive me? King Chang Xing was extremely annoyed. What do you want to hear? I said I won't forgive, and you are making yourself unhappy. I said I never cared about it, would you believe it? Ms. Liu's face turned pale and she clutched the handkerchief tightly. Her mother was from Zai Town, Guangling Prefecture of the Great Zhou dynasty. Before she got married, Mrs. Lu only occasionally went to Zai Town to visit relatives. Later, less than a year after getting married, the man died. She never found another man to get married with, but just chose one. Having a pleasing guard by your side relieves loneliness. Until her grandmother's 60th birthday, she lived in Zai Town for a while. When she met Gu Qing Song, who came to her grandfather's house to sell delicacies and game, she felt that her heart was alive. She found out about Gu Qingsong's family. He had a wife and a son, which was expected. After all, this man was nearly 40 and so charming. He couldn't be a bachelor. Probably the less they could get, the more it would be unbearable. Mrs. Lu ordered her servants to tell Gu Qingsong to send delicacies and game as much as they could every day. Seeing that she had nothing to eat every day, Mrs. Lu thought more and more about her, and thought that a romantic relationship would be fine. She planned the day when Gu Qingsong would come, and went down into the river to call for help. Gu Qingsong is an upright man, and there is no way he would die without saving his life. As Lu expected, he grabbed a pole and jumped into the river, grabbed her hand and tied it to the pole, and dragged her ashore, never touching anything other than her hands. Mrs. Lu became more competitive and really wanted to pick him off and have a taste. She showed courtesy to Gu Qingsong, but Gu Qingsong treated her politely. Madame Lu was angry, so she found a gangster to beat Gu Qingsong, robbed him of his money, and pretended to be a gangster to vent her anger. Gu Qingsong was very good at boxing and kicking. Instead of getting favors from those people, one of them had his leg broken by Gu Qingsong. Her lover was left out by her, so when he saw this, he gave her an idea. Since Madame wants to get him, isn't it easy? He goes hunting in the mountains every day. You find someone to ambush him in the mountains and beat him there seriously injured, take him to Ziliang with a sigh of relief, and then tell Gu Qingsong that the bastard with the broken leg came to seek revenge and slaughtered his entire family. Mrs. Lu was tempted. Gu Qingsong was a powerful person and ordinary people couldn't do anything to him. She left the matter to her lover and hired desperados to ambush Gu Qingsong. The lover had murderous intentions and ordered people to silence Gu Qingsong. Gu Qingsong was seriously injured and fell off the cliff. She was found and ordered people to use Gu Qingsong's blood-stained clothes and shoes and throw them on the mountain to create a beast that was eaten by wild animals. Pretend, she didn't dare to stay, so she directly asked her money to hire a doctor to go back to Ziliang with her. Mrs. Lu was afraid that her lover would do something bad, so she killed him in private. Gu Qingsong was so seriously injured that he was in a coma for more than half a year before he woke up and could not walk with his legs. During the recovery period, Mrs. Lu told him that someone was seeking revenge and his wife and children were dead, so she had no choice but to take him to Ziliang to avoid trouble. Gu Qingsong was grateful to her, but he wanted to return to Dezhou. It turned out that Mrs. Lu was lying, so naturally she couldn't let him go back alone. So on the pretext that he couldn't walk, she happened to be going to her grandfather's house so that she could take care of him on the way, and she also knew where their graves were, so Gu Qingsong didn't refuse. It was raining heavily that day. They were in the carriage going to the Gu family's old house. They did not get out of the carriage. The village chief's family came out of the Gu house. Gu Qingsong's expression suddenly changed. Someone returned to the village and passed by the carriage. The voice came intermittently through the rain, "Mr. Gu's family is so miserable, we can't be saved." Mr. Liu's heart was pounding, and he almost thought that his secret was about to be revealed. He regretted not buying a murderer to kill his wife and children. Fortunately, when she heard the words about cutting off the head and tail, it suited her perfectly. She has always had people keeping an eye on the Gu family. Of course she knew that his wife had sold her old house and was living in a dilapidated thatched house. One of her second children was in poor health. She must have taken her to seek medical advice today. It was the child who could not be saved. Don't be sad. When you become powerful, you can come and avenge them. Mrs. Lu did not dare to stay any longer, fearing that the lie would be exposed as soon as Gu Qingsong entered the village. "The enemies are still here, and they know that you are not dead. I will definitely take action. You are unable to move and have no ability to fight back, and you might even endanger me. I will take you to see their tombs and we will discuss it further." That tomb was also a fake tomb made by Lu. She had made it when she was trapping Gu Song, so he didn't let him see the clues. The man stood guard in front of the tomb and was exposed to rain all day and night. After returning to the carriage, he fell ill and continued to have a high fever. Mrs. Lu brought the person back to Ziliang. She redeemed some of the silver ornaments that the woman had pawned while treating her child, and gave them to Gu Song as a memorial. The moment Gu Song saw the silver love ornament, he believed Liu's words. She no longer thought about returning to Dazhu, and after she was able to move freely, she refused her father's arrangement and joined the military camp. Mrs. Lu knew that he was inquiring about the news about Guangling's imperial examination. His eldest son was very good at studying and Gu Song was already a scholar when his accident happened. With his talent and learning, it was very easy to pass the exam, but there was no one on the list. Gu Song refused to give up and waited for another 3 years. Gu Huizi's name was still not on the list of those who passed the exam. At that time, Gu Song had been crowned king and could not easily go to Dezhou, so he sent his confidants to Dezhou to investigate. Unfortunately, the confidant was won over by Mrs. Lu, who fabricated lies to deceive him, and told Gu Song that the desperado had been brought to justice. Mrs. Lu was gentle and considerate, and took good care of Gu Song, but she still did not warm up Gu Song's heart. Later, when he was drunk, she deliberately created a story that they were married. Gu Song did not propose to marry her until Mrs. Lu said that he did. After she became pregnant, Gu Qingshan had just given her a title, but that was all. Until the child was born, due to congenital deficiencies and weak body, he was cherished by Gu Song. Over the years, Gu Song's days in the capital were numbered, and he could not even say a word to her. Mrs. Lu knew that Gu Song blamed her for crawling into his bed while he was drunk and not giving her any dignity. Thinking of these past events, Ms. Lu felt extremely aggrieved. She didn't know what was so good about that woman. She was vulgar and savage and not as beautiful as her. Why should he be obsessed with her like this? Song, will you believe me when I say I didn't mean it? Lu bit her lip. You know how strong you are. I can't get away from you at all. Gu Song tugged his lips, showing sarcasm. Ms. Lu took a deep breath and wanted to change the topic, but she saw the servant coming in a hurry. Your Majesty, Princess, Dr. Su is here. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruanmeng Baobao. Chapter 248. Suwan brought Qi Shiliu with her medicine box. The butler personally came to greet her at the door and invited her to the main hall. Mrs. Lu was stunned when she saw Suwan. Is it you? Gu Song glanced at her. Lu smiled and said, I met this young lady at White Horse Temple that day. Master Mingjia knew her and wanted to recommend her to me to treat Zhen'er. I didn't expect that the prince would invite the young lady here. This is really fate. Gu Song did not answer Liu's words and said to Suwan, you come with me. A group of people went to the Tingtao pavilion in the backyard. A bamboo forest was planted around it. The wind blew by, causing layers of green waves. The name fit the situation. There were 2 guards and 2 maids guarding the door. The maid opened the curtain. Gu Song went in first, followed by Mrs. Lu. Suwan entered the room and smelled the light fragrance of herbs. There were 2 thick blankets on the ground. A 5 or 6-year-old boy with socks on his feet was sitting cross-legged on the blanket and was solving the 9-ring chain. Father, Gu Yunzhen got up and threw himself into Gu Song's arms, stuffing the 9-ring chain into his broad palm. I haven't been able to untie it for several days, please teach me. Let this sister take your pulse first, and my father will teach you later. Gu Song touched his head. There was no fever, and put him on the fire bed. Don't sit on the carpet, your hands are cold. Of. Gu Yunzhen had a pair of apricot eyes like Liu's, which were clean and clear. He looked at Suwan curiously. showing his white teeth and smiling so hard that 2 dimples appeared on his cheeks. "Sister, I have taken medicine." Master Mingju said, "I am fine." "Really?" Suwon took his pulse, the smile on her face remained unchanged. "It's okay." Gu Yunzhen raised his little face proudly and said to Gu Qingsong, "Father, my sister said that Zhener is good, please teach me the 9 links quickly." He pouted his pale mouth and said gloomily, "You said that my brother is very smart. At the age of 4, he can unlock the 9 chains and the Lubin lock. Because you were sick and didn't go to school, you couldn't solve it." Gu Qingsong taught him how to solve the 9-link chain. Seeing Suwon sitting aside and waiting, he told Gu Yunzhen, "You play by yourself first, and father will give one to my sister." Okay. Gu Yunzhen recovered himself and began to unravel again. Gu Qingsong and Suwon left and went next door to discuss Gu Yunzhen's condition. Gu Yunzhen tossed it several times, but couldn't figure it out, so he threw it on the ground angrily. "Mother, I'm so stupid, I don't look like my father at all. Am I not his father's child?" Mrs. Lu covered Gu Yunzhen's mouth with a pale face and looked at the door hastily. There was only the sound of the waves in the bamboo forest outside. She took a breath and her heart was beating fast. She pinched Gu Yunzhen's arm. "You kid, what nonsense are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense like this." Gu Yunzhen had tears in his dark eyes. He lay on the kong, raised his buttocks and ignored Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu pulled the quilt to cover him, thought for a moment, and prepared to go over and ask Suwon about Gu Yunzhen's condition. Opening the door, he saw Qin Yang walking over quickly, his cloak rustling in the cold wind. "Princess," Qin Yang Chao glanced at him, "where is the prince?" Mrs. Liu's heart skipped a beat. Qin Yang was Gu Qingsong's confidant, and he was the one who sent him there back then. The relationship between the two people is not suitable for being too close. If there is nothing important, Qin Yang will not easily come to her, let alone when Gu Qingsong is around. "Your Majesty is asking about Zhener's condition. If you have anything urgent, tell me and I will pass it on to your Majesty." Lu invited Qin Yang into a wing room grandly. As soon as the door was closed, Qin Yang said anxiously, "Princess, my subordinates have heard something. The queen's daughter-in-law who is called Suwon. She is the Dr. Su who came to the mansion to diagnose the young prince. Her husband is Gu Huai. He is the eldest son of the prince. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 249. Mrs. Liu's face changed with fright. The incandescent light shone through the lattice window on her face, making her face turn pale. Her pupils were full of fear. What should I do? Gu Huizi is in Ziliang Kingdom and in the palace. What should I do if I encounter it? Her hands panicked and grabbed Qin Yang's hand, as if grasping a life-saving straw. You can't ignore it, the prince knows the truth, and you will be finished. Qin Yang frowned, full of disgust for Mrs. Lu. If this matter hadn't come out and implicated him, he wouldn't want to care about it at all. Don't worry, I'll find a way. Ever since Qin Yang lied to deceive Gu Qingsong, he began to regret it. Lu said that things were clear, but the mistake had already been made. If he failed Gu Qingsong's entrustment again, he would make more mistakes and fall into the net woven by Lu, with nowhere to escape. How can there be any such thing as Liang Qing? If he had apologized to Gu Qingsong from the beginning, he might not be in the current dilemma. Who is Mr. Lu? It's human spirit. Seeing Qin Yang deep in thought, she felt something was wrong. Don't think you can get away, right? Qin Yang, from the day you slept with me, you can't get out. We have to live together, or die. Mrs. Liu's face became distorted, and she gritted her teeth and said, I'll give it to you. Hell will also hold you together. Qin Yang's face darkened. Back then, he followed Gu Qingsong through life and death, blocked a knife for Gu Qingsong, and saved Gu Qingsong's life. The two of them could trust each other with their backs. One day he returned home drunk and went directly to his wife's yard. He was sleeping on the bed with his back to the outside of the bed. He went directly to the bed and fell asleep with her under him. The person under him was struggling all the time, and the smell of alcohol on his head seemed to add to the fun, and he became even tougher. Halfway through, it seemed that the person under him was crying. The smell of alcohol dissipated a little. He turned the person over and saw Liu's crying face. Qin Yang was so frightened that he fell off the bed. After asking, I found out that Mrs. Liu came to see her daughter-in-law to learn needlework. She felt a little uncomfortable, so she lay down on the bed to rest. Qin Yang woke up from the wine, and Mrs. Liu put on her clothes tremblingly, crying, I will just pretend that this incident didn't happen. If word gets out, I will hang myself with a hemp rope, and you and brother Qingsong can't do it. Qin Yang was flustered. After Liu left, he became angry with Qian and wanted to confess to Gu Qingsong. Qian knelt on the ground and cried and begged him, Ms., if you don't think about me, you must also think about the children. If not, Gu Qingsong will forgive you, but sleeping with his woman is a shame. If he kills you with a sword in anger, what will you do if you call us mothers? Qin Yang was so obsessed that he hid it, and gradually he suppressed it in his heart. Until Gu Qingsong asked him to go to Dazhu to find someone, at that time he felt guilty and must find someone for Gu Qingsong. As a result, Mrs. Liu came to the door and he made another mistake. Mrs. Liu saw that Qin Yang's face was green and white, but remained silent. She began to panic, Qin Yang, do you really not want to live? If you just slept with me before, Gu Qingsong might forgive you, but you cheated on him, his wife and children are dead, and his wife has been separated for so many years, do you think he will forgive you? Qin Yang's expression changed, then what do you think we should do? People are coming from Ziliang. Then make the light true. A fierce look flashed in Liu's eyes. After Suwan told Gu Qingsong about Gu Yunzhen's condition, he wrote a prescription and prepared to leave. Gu Qingsong asked, where in Dazhu is divine Dr. Su from? Suwan was startled and was about to answer when Liu's voice came from the door, my lord, are you okay? Qin Yang has something important to ask you. The favorite of the Nongmen group, the female supporting role is a full-level boss. Author, Ruan Meng Baobao. Chapter 250. Your Majesty, there is an emergency in the military camp. Qin Yang's voice came. Gu Qingsong didn't wait for Suwan to answer, I'm here to help divine Dr. Su today. You have to worry about Zhen's health. Opening the door, he saw Mrs. Liu standing at the door and ordered, go and see divine Dr. Su. After that, leaving in stride. Qin Yang glanced at Suwan and followed Gu Qingsong. Mrs. Liu breathed a sigh of relief and forced a soft smile on her face, Dr. Su, I will take you out of the house. Princess, please stay. There is no need to see you off. Suwan declined and walked out of the house carrying the medicine box. Mrs. Liu followed Suwan with a soft voice, Dr. Su, Master Mingzhu recommended you, which shows that your medical skills are really good. The prince also thinks highly of you. If Zhener has any physical discomfort, I will give it to you in the future. Post, please come over and treat him. Suwan smiled and said, okay. Gu Qingsong had already told Gu Qingsong what needed to be said. Suwan knew in her heart that Mrs. Liu disdained her medical skills, so it was useless to say more. She will return to Dezhou in the next year, and she will explain Gu Yunzhen's illness to Master Mingzhu. Mrs. Lu tightened her fingers, feeling a little dissatisfied with Su Wan's attitude. But thinking of what she was going to do next, she suppressed her emotions and sent the person to the door. The moment Su entered the carriage at night, she suddenly asked, "Dr. Su, Master Mingju will come to the house to check Zhener in 2 days. I will ask someone to pick you up then. You wait until I notify you later. I may not be able to arrange the time." Su Wan lowered the car curtain without giving Lu the right words. Qi Shiliu jumped on the carriage and drove away. Madame Lu was so angry that she rubbed her handkerchief hard. This bitch was so arrogant. Isn't she the daughter the queen left among the people? Now that you don't even have an account, what's the point of being proud of? Let you be proud for a few more days. When Mrs. Lu entered the house, Qin Yang happened to come out of the study room in the front yard, and the two looked at each other. Qin Yang received Liu's signal, looked away, and returned home expressionlessly. Qian was sewing new clothes for Qin Yang for the new year. When she heard the noise, she turned around and saw Qin Yang coming back. She quickly put down the needle and thread in her hand, went up to him with a smile, and untied his cloak. "You're back. Don't you have to stay in the military camp today? Where are the children?" In the school, Mr. Qian's appearance was delicate and not particularly provocative. Seeing that Qin Yang was worried, he asked with concern, "What's the matter? Did you encounter something unpleasant?" Qin Yang was upset, pushed Qian away suddenly, and said angrily, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't left Lu lying on the bed, nothing like that would have happened. If you hadn't stopped me, how can I be controlled by a Lu family now if I hide it from the prince?" Qian's face turned pale, and she realized that Lu might have threatened Qin Yang again. She pinched the corners of her clothes with trembling fingers, feeling regretful in her heart. When Mrs. Lu came to visit her because of her obsession, she said she wanted to arrange a job for her brother to be the shopkeeper in Liu's shop. She would be given 12 months' money every month, which would be enough for the family's expenses, and there would be a surplus. Before that, Qian asked Qin Yang, but Qin Yang refused to arrange errands for his brother in the military camp for personal gain. Mrs. Liu's appearance was a timely blessing. She was grateful to Mrs. Lu and began to fawn over her. They became familiar with her as soon as they went back and forth. Later, Mrs. Lu came to the door angrily, saying that her brother had committed a crime in the shop and owed several thousand taels of silver. Qian was panicked, and Lu made a request, asking Qian to go out for a drink and come back before dark, and the matter would be revealed without her brother having to pay for it. After all, Qin Yang worked hard with Gu Qing-song, and she could not treat Qin Yang's relatives badly. Qian felt uneasy and had a gut feeling that such a good thing would not happen. Lu must have a plan, but if she didn't do what Lu said, she would take her brother to the official. Qian agreed in confusion. She didn't expect that Mrs. Lu was after her man, and Ms. Qian hated her in her heart, but her arms couldn't twist her thigh. Whenever she thought about it, she knew that she had fallen into Mr. Liu's scheme, but she couldn't say it, so she could only break her teeth and swallow the blood. The prince's eldest son has come to Ziliang and is in the palace. If the prince meets him, just wait until he becomes a widow. Qin Yang left these words.